me, as they say. This person is a DA. They are the elected DA in their respective county. And the police want to pull her over for speeding, as one does. And she's not so thrilled with the being pulled over for speeding. Now, you don't necessarily have to be thrilled about it, but you do have to comply. And if you think the officers are wrong, you can go to a court of law, which she should know because she's the DA. She's probably a little bit familiar with the idea of, courts of law. So there's that. But she's a special. She's a special. So we pick up the action as the police are now going to her home because rather than pulling over on the side of the road like any of us would be expected to do, she has decided to go to her home, which sounds suspiciously like both obstruction and evasion, which are really bad. They're usually felonies in most jurisdictions. So we've turned a simple traffic stop into something more. So let's go ahead and get started with this. There is no sound at the beginning of this video. It's body cam footage. There's no sound at the very, very beginning. But we'll see how it goes. So the police officer is pulling up in his patrol car, getting out of the car, turns off the ignition, and shows up at her house, which has some blurred parts for some reason. We can see the car is in the garage. That's not where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be on the side of the road where we flagged you for speeding. Why are you there, sir? Why are you there, ma'am?
Sorry, I'm the DA. I was going 55 coming home from work.
55 and a 35.
I don't really care.
Okay, all right. First of all, I'm the DA. Do you know who I am, Energy? Do you know who I am, Energy? I was going 55. She admits to the crime, incidentally. 55 and a 35, says the police officer. And she says, I don't care. She doesn't care about the law? As the elected DA, she doesn't care about the law. She doesn't care about... That's interesting. I'm sure everyone else who's pulled over for speeding will be excited to learn this information. The DA apparently doesn't care. That's nice. No one else has to get pulled over for speeding because the DA doesn't care. Okay, all right, great. Let's press on.
Hey, can you please come over here? This is on a traffic stop, ma'am.
Yes, it is. You can call Dennis Kohlmeyer right now.
Okay, I'm telling you why I stopped you. You didn't stop at all. Did you not hear my lights or sirens or anything?
No, I didn't actually. I was on the phone.
Okay. Sure you didn't.
You're not supposed to be on the phone while you're driving either.
Yes, I am with the hands-free. Absolutely.
Okay. Why are you so upset at me? I'm doing my job. You just admitted to me that you were going 55 and a 35 on Phillips Road.
Can you please tell him to leave me alone?
Okay, so now apparently she is going with the I want to call your manager routine. I guess she's calling the chief of police. Can you ask him to leave me alone? You violated the law, ma'am. Who do you think you are? You think you're the DA. So you think you're one of the specials. You think you're one of the specials. The law doesn't apply to you. And you get to call the chief of police and be like, can you ask him to leave me alone? No. You violated the law, ma'am. You've engaged in evading. You've committed a felony.
Officer Christopher, can you stay over here, ma'am? This is a legal traffic stop. Do you have your ID?
No, it's in my purse. Here.
You have your purse right there.
No, this is my lunch. Would you talk to Dennis? This is ridiculous. Just go away.
Hello, sir. Good, ma'am. Can you please stay at the back? This is legal traffic stop. Can you please stay over here?
No. Hey, baby, put your little guy out of
No?
here.
Sir?
Just no? So apparently you're allowed to refuse lawful orders of the police now. Apparently in this jurisdiction you are allowed to refuse a lawful order, such as can you stand over here, which would be a lawful order during a traffic stop, for example. And apparently now you're allowed to resist, and now apparently you're allowed to disobey a lawful order. So you're not required to care about speeding. You're not allowed, so evading is no longer a crime. Obstruction is no longer a crime. Disobeying a lawful order is no longer a crime. How exciting. All this information should be very, very valuable to the citizens of this county. Within the space of how long are we into this video? A minute 35? Within the space of a minute 35, apparently we've wiped 4 different laws off the books. This has got to be some kind of record. Let's press on.
For going 55 and a 35 on Phillips Road.
On Phillips Road.
And
coming
she
home from
failed
work.
to stop. She drove all the way back home and parked in her garage.
That sounds a lot like
And
evading.
now she's not complying with any of my
That sounds like
commands. Ma'am,
that
do
sounds
not
like
go
disobeying
inside.
lawful order. Okay.
Yep.
Now she's fleed into the home.
Ma'am.
Now, incidentally, at this point, I'd like to point out that if we were so inclined, we could continue to follow her into the home. Why, might you ask? Well, because there's an exception to the Fourth Amendment. What exception would that be? Hot pursuit would be the exception. Hot pursuit. Because she's engaged in a felony of evading. And so the police can pursue her in hot pursuit, right? She literally just committed the crime. She's right here. We are chasing down the suspect. That's hot pursuit, which means we can go into the home if we want. The Fourth Amendment exception. Exciting. Just letting you know, by the way, just for your own legal edification for the future.
Come outside. You can't just go inside. This is a traffic stop. Here's your phone
I
back.
understand the law better than you. Would you just
9-5.
Okay, not for nothing, but if you truly do understand the law better than him, there's an outstanding place to make that manifest. That would be what we call a court of law. That's what they're for. If you understand the law better than he does, you can, adjudicate that in a court of law. Tell it to the judge, ma'am. This is not how that goes. Yeah.
Can you have a supervisor come to the scene?
No. Get out of my fucking house.
I don't know why.
Arrest
you're
her.
acting
Arrest
like
her.
this
Do
towards
it.
me.
Because
Can you please go to the back of the vehicle?
I'm not going to. I'm home. I was
Disobeying a lawful order again. Yeah.
okay, 55.
I don't care if you got home. You were supposed to stop at Phillips Road when I pulled you over. When my lights were
I
initiated.
didn't know you were stopping me. There was lots of other people.
Uh-huh.
On the road.
I was right behind you.
Yeah, there were other people on the road too.
Okay, I was directly behind
I'm
you.
not dealing with you right
Can
now.
you please step over here?
I'm not going to.
You have to.
What is the reason you're
I really wish he would arrest her. I really wish he'd put the cuffs on her. I know it's not going to happen, but I really wish he would. He has every right to at this point, for any number of reasons. I mean, yeah, it's not going to happen. Maybe the cuffs will come at a later time. Maybe someone will charge her with something. I can think of several crimes we can charge her with. Also, we can charge her with probably misuse of her office as well, because she's doing the whole I'm a DA thing, right? I'm a DA. That's the reason you can't prosecute me. I'm a DA, so I called the chief of police to lean on him. So we could get her for corruption of office as well. That's another crime. We can keep counting them. It's fun.
so against what I'm doing? I'm doing my job. You say you're a DA?
I am the DA.
Ooh,
Okay.
exciting.
Okay, let me get you my badge. I am the DA.
I am thrilled for you, ma'am, that you are the DA. You should understand that you just committed 6 different crimes
Just don't
as we've been
understand the
speaking.
hostility towards me. I'm
We've
doing
counted
my
them.
job.
No, you're being an asshole.
How am I being an asshole?
I am the DA of Monroe County.
I don't care if you are the DA. I don't understand why that matters legally in our analysis, because it doesn't matter legally in our analysis. Do you think you're above the law? Do you think you're better than everyone? You apparently do. You think you're the special. You don't think the law applies to you in your 55 and a 35. Just take the ticket like a normal person. Except we've now resisted, we have failed to stop over. We failed to respond to signals. We obstructed justice. We've evaded. We have misused our office. We've refused a lawful order on a couple of occasions. It's going great over here.
I understand
Yes,
that, but
I'm
that doesn't
coming
give
home
you
from
a right
work,
to
and
go
I was
55 and a 35.
Yeah, it's
You
true.
even admitted to me that you went 50. I understand.
I don't
that,
care.
man. I understand that.
You know what? If you give me a traffic ticket, that's fine.
You-
I'm the one who prosecutes it, okay? Just go ahead and do it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just don't understand the hostility.
don't-
I understand
no,
you're
I
coming home
understand
from
why you're
work.
And half the time I was on the phone with Dennis, telling him, why are you pulling me over?
For going
I don't
55 and a
think you're on the phone
35,
to
we've
begin
established
with.
that.
You should know that.
On hands-free? Absolutely.
Okay.
You should know the law.
Okay? If it is hands-free, that's great. But at the end of the day, you're going 55 and a 35. That's 20
Okay.
miles over the speed limit.
Okay, you know what? That's fine. You know what I've been dealing with all day?
I don't care.
3 murders in the city. And do you think I really care if I was going 20 miles over the speed limit?
Okay, I'm just doing
Do you not think the law applies to you? I mean, I will agree with you insofar as going 20 miles over the speed limit is not as serious as 3 counts of murder. I mean, or 3 different murders, take your pick, either way. I mean, I will agree with you that these are not of equal importance. And as the police are deciding how to enforce their laws, as one does as the executive branch, as you should know, also being part of the executive branch, they can choose to prioritize. But one of the things they choose to care about is speeding. It's one of the things they care about because it's dangerous and it leads to problems. And, you know, we are not going to take the speeding as seriously as the murder. And the fact that you've had a tough day doesn't really give you an excuse for the felonies you have committed and admitted to during this interaction. I was on the phone the whole time telling the chief of police to get this guy to stop pulling me over. Oh, so you were aware that he was behind you, you mean? You were aware that they were trying to pull you over. Oh, so you were continuing on with knowledge the police were trying to pull you over. Oh, that's evading. Oh, that's a felony. Okay, yeah, good times.
my
I would
job.
get
If
in
you
front of
pulled
the-
if you pulled over when you saw my lights, which obviously you did,
I thought you were going somewhere else because I
Uh-huh.
thought no one would ever pull a black SUV if you ran my plates.
I
If
didn't run your
We were supposed to run your plates first? Is that what we're supposed to do? I didn't know that was part of the standard protocol. I did not know that was part of the standard protocol. I did not know the police were supposed to run your plates during a traffic stop prior to conducting the traffic stop. Now, they certainly can do that, but I didn't know they were required or supposed to do that. Oh, we were supposed to run your plates to determine if you were one of the specials. Oh, okay. Yeah, all right, all right.
I just called your plate out, and then I'm following you because you're not stopping. So I had to take the air from dispatch.
Just please.
Arrest her. Do
By
it.
3. You can have the air back, by the way. Just come outside over here.
No, I'm not going outside.
Refusing a lawful order.
I'm waiting for you just to leave.
Arrest her.
I'm having a supervisor come because that's what my chief told me to do.
Arrest her. You should arrest her. You should arrest her. You should do it right now.
This is
Do you have your driver's license?
I just showed you my driver's
You show me your badge.
That's true.
With EMS, a 14-year-old having a seizure, 200 East River Road, apartment 200 on the 3rd
because
floor.
I was going 50.
Yeah, I agree with you in chat. Any of us would have been arrested long ago. Any of us would have been arrested long ago. I mean, yeah. We've seen any number of traffic stops go badly because the person chooses to make them go badly, and then it results in all kinds of escalation by the police. Quite lawfully in most situations by the police. And, you know, yes. So, yes, you or I we would have the cuffs on us long ago. The mace would have come out. The cop would have chased us into our home. threw us onto the ground. Well, I did what? My Fourth Amendment rights. I was literally chasing you. Hot pursuit. I'm the DA. Yeah, no, that doesn't work. Lol.
And I was
She's
just
part of
trying
it. She's
to-
the DA.
Yep, I know.
Yeah, we're all well aware that you're the DA.
I was on the
Are you one of the
phone.
specials? Is that how that works?
Tell the person who's following me that
Listen,
I'm almost home.
ma'am, I understand you were going home, but I started my lights back at Phillips Road.
Hey, on Phillips Road, yes,
Yes.
you did, and there are other cars.
I was right behind you, directly behind you. At the end,
Go ahead, like,
listen.
you wanna,
At the
like
end
I
of the
said,
day,
go ahead if you want to write me a traffic ticket, that's fine.
okay. At the end of
I
the
don't
day,
care.
at the end of the day,
You don't care about
I was
traffic
stopping
tickets?
you for speed. If you
I've
just
had a
stopped,
really bad day.
I
I've been
don't
dealing
care.
with
and I
murders
get
in the
it,
city
and I
all
get
day.
it. We have bad
I'm
days
sorry,
also,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry, I'm sorry.
We have bad days also.
My license back?
I'm gonna just add it to the job real quick.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
You can charge her with so
You can
many
just go
things.
and actually add it. You don't have to use the error.
You can charge her with so many things.
At the end of the day, I was just making a traffic stop, doing my job, what I was supposed to do.
Well, fine, thank you.
Okay? So now, supervisor's on his way, and then we'll go from there.
Supervisor's coming out here.
Huh?
Who?
Sergeant Johnson.
Why does it matter what
I
supervisor?
understand you had it. Like, I get
Also,
it.
I'd like to repeat this because it's a point that continues to amaze me. You do not have the right to demand a supervisor. For if no other reason than the supervisor has other things to do than worry about your petty ass shit. Your rights are to confront this in a court of law. That is your right. You do not have the right to demand a supervisor. This thing where people are like, I demand a supervisor. I tell you, man, if I were a cop, I'd be like, I'm just going to arrest you. If I have any basis to arrest you at this point, I'm just going to arrest you just for being a jackass. On top of everything else, right? I can't arrest you solely for being a jackass, but the jackassery certainly can put you over the top, right? I demand a supervisor. I demand you wear these metal cuffs. And I get to back up my demand with force. Exciting.
We all have bad days at work.
And I'm gonna go in the house. Seriously, this is ridiculous.
No, this is a traffic stop, and you, out of everyone, should know that if there's a legal traffic stop, which I have the right to detain you until this is done.
Yep.
Just write me the fucking ticket. I really don't care.
Okay. Well, then just hang out at the back of the car.
Because I'm the one that's gonna prosecute myself. You know what I'll do with the ticket?
Oh, interesting. Oh, I'm the one who will prosecute myself. You know what I'll do with the ticket? Interesting. Oh, that sounds like another corruption of office to me. That sounds like corruption of office again. Not only did I use my magical powers as DA to try to lean on the chief of police to prevent them from doing their job, which is corruption of office, but now I'm indicating that if you write the ticket, I'm essentially just going to tear it up because I don't want to prosecute myself. Oh, another corruption of office. How exciting. How many crimes can we admit to today? I wonder how many other crimes against yourself you might have ignored along the way.
Okay, just come out here for me and just stand.
I'm not walking out there. I'm not. Hey, baby, right?
You have to. You have to. It is a reasonable. It is a lawful order. It is a lawful order, and also incidentally, yeah, they could just arrest you anyway, because of the whole fleeing felon thing. Plus, you're a felon in their presence. Plus, they're already in the home for lawful reasons. So yeah. You do actually have to stand behind the car. It's a lawful order. For the practical reason, of course, by the way, is the cop doesn't know if you have access to a weapon or what else might be in the car. Now, you are the DA, I guess, but, so what? You're just a person, right? The law, equal justice under law. So the cop doesn't know whether or not you have a weapon in the car or in the garage or other things that are dangerous and can require you to move for their own safety. But she doesn't want to. She wants to stay in the comfort of her garage. Okay.
Corey, you just want to stand up here.
Also, by the way, not that I
Yeah,
should
as
have
long
to
as
point
it's
it
active,
out, but
yeah.
the refusal to do it again
Sergeant,
was
what?
yet again refusal to obey a lawful order. So I'm not sure how many counts of refusal to obey a lawful order we're up to at this point, whether it's 4 or 5, I've lost track. But that was another count of refusal to obey a lawful order, just, you know, FYI.
I was speeding at Oak Road. He turned around. I didn't know if it was me. I wasn't sure because there were other cars going back and forth. Then I got to turning into the field press, and I'm like, I'm just going to drive home. That's what I did. So I was getting that story. And I got on the phone with Dennis. I don't know, even before I turned, but when I turned in and said, you know, it's me that they're stopping. Just tell them it's me.
Okay.
So I don't know. That's
What is the value of that information? See, that's the problem from her legal perspective, right? Tell them it's me. Tell them that's me. Why is that information valuable to the chief of police and or the cop? Why is that information valuable that you are the DA? The only reason it's valuable is because you're expecting them to not prosecute you because you are the DA. Or give you a ticket or otherwise. Like, I'm the DA, so I'm one of the specials. Misuse of office.
942.
You know what? There are other cars and folks.
942.
I'm just going to pull in.
Yeah, me to the T-stop.
I would advise against that. I mean, you're supposed to pull off to the
Yep.
side of the road if somebody with their emergency lights is coming
Yep.
behind you anyways.
Yeah, I just.
That's true, by the way, of course. I mean, strictly speaking, right? If there's a cop behind you with their lights on, you're required to pull over on the side of the road, even if they're not after you, because you're required to get out of the way of the emergency vehicle. Right? I mean, everyone is supposed to, like, kind of pull over if, you know, to let the cop pass through. So, yes, you were supposed to kind of pull over to the side of the road, even if we weren't trying to come after you. And you didn't do that anyway, which is also a traffic violation. In addition to the speeding. Failure to yield to the emergency vehicle. There's a traffic violation. Add that to the list.
Just we're having supervisors come, and then we'll go from there.
Oh, come
Okay?
on. Just.
This is what my chief wants. That's at the end of the day. You called him. I spoke to him on your phone, and this is what he wants.
I'm going to call him again.
Okay, you're going to call him again. You didn't get the answer the first time. So we're going to call him again and remind him I'm the DA. Oh, a second call. In addition to the one that you mentioned in the car, because you mentioned in the car, right, earlier on the tape, you mentioned that you were on the phone with the police. And then you made a call earlier while we were here. And now you're making a second call. Okay, so that's 3 different calls that we've apparently made to the chief of police now. That's 3 counts of misuse of office. Ah, man, the indictment just gets longer and longer, man. This woman is great. 8 minutes into this video is only 8 minutes long. We have more counts on the indictment than we do minutes in the video. She is doing better than a crime per minute. She is awesome. She's the best.
Seriously, there's 3 officers here already, and I'm waiting for supervisor.
You guys can go. You guys go. I'll wait here wait for Sarge or LT. Sounds like LT is coming now.
Oh my goodness, I was going 20 miles an hour over the speed limit.
Yes.
I didn't pull over. I just figured I'd drive to my driveway.
Okay, so now you're admitting to it. Again, I was going 20 miles over out limit, and I didn't pull over. Fantastic. Thanks for the confession. That's helpful.
You should have run the plate. It's a big black fish. It's a big black SUV. And now I've got like 5.
going 55 and 35 on Phillips. She didn't stop at all.
And arguably her speeding is criminally reckless. It would be by definition in Virginia, because Virginia is mean. If you're 20 miles over the limit is definitionally criminally reckless by speed in Virginia. So, I mean, we're in New York, but I'm just mentioning. Yes, in addition to that, we could theoretically also charge her with reckless driving. Yes. Yeah. In addition to speeding. Yeah.
She decided to drive home, called the chief, and this is where we're at. She's admitted multiple times to me.
Yep, we sure has.
So I attempted to stop her on Phillips Road, going 55 and a 35. Didn't see the plate. I was just keeping an eye on the vehicle.
Why does it matter?
She wasn't stopping. Drove all the way here, pulled into
I
a
mean,
garage.
short of the plate having diplomatic tags, there's nothing about the plate that matters. So, yeah.
She got out, was just being aggressive towards me for no reason. I was being respectful. Telling her this is a legal traffic stop, come to the back of the vehicle, no. Then she called chief, then that's why I requested a supervisor.
Okay.
And now she wanted to go inside, told her no, you can't go inside, and this is where we're at, so.
Uh-huh.
It's a really bigger deal. When you start talking, it's a much bigger deal.
Well, you caused that, Sandra. What do you want us to do? Not do our job because of you?
No, it's fine. I said, write me a ticket. But I was just saying, I was not gonna stop at Phillips Road at 5:30.
You broke another rule because of that. Right? You should know better.
Yeah, you really should know better, woman.
This is an arrestable offense.
You're not having a great day right now.
Why would you not just put a way a bigger deal than we did? Yeah, you knew what you were gonna stop. You could have stopped, you had a conversation with you, and been done. No, you made it just one big deal. For no reason. Did you provide me your license and registration?
Yeah.
You have her ID?
I gave it back to her. It's attached to the job and everything, so.
I didn't want to stop in Phillips Road. I was right down the street. I figured I would just stop in my driveway. That's what I figured. I thought it would be easier. Apparently I was wrong.
I'm still rolling, so.
Yeah, do you
You definitely want to get this all on camera for every possible reason.
traffic stop? I'm not gonna tell you how to handle it.
Yeah.
Feels necessary.
I'll wait till LT is done talking. I mean,
17, I can start for the unknown.
717 10 front. Looks like it's an open line on a cell phone with people that were yelling to one another at the tennis court area.
yeah,
in the middle
he
of
got
the
out of the vehicle, everything, so. I mean,
10 for all advice.
I explained to her, I mean, she knew exactly that she was going 55 and a 20.
Mm-hmm.
35. She even called the chief. So it's like, I, you know, like, I,
I got a phone call earlier.
like I don't care just writing her the speeding ticket and being done with it, but technically it's an arrestable offense if she didn't stop.
Yes, it is. It's very much an arrestable defense. It's one of the many arrestable offenses that has been committed so far. You have no shortage of arrestable offenses. Any time would be fine.
713.
713.
Any time would be fine.
I'll be stepping out at 293 Taft Ave on this. Check for my missing person.
Assumed that when I pulled in that most of Western PD knows that I'm here.
Well, we don't. We have a problem. All
Right.
police officers probably been here at this job. In Western, some of them less than a year.
Yeah, I mean, I was just assuming that you all knew
What's
17 all set. Make contact over the phone. Accidental call.
what's the deal? You got
Yeah,
a
fine.
ticket? What are you gonna do?
I mean,
It's your stop. I'm not gonna interfere with that.
Fair enough.
I get that she came home. I mean, obviously, if I
Ten
It
four.
Just
makes
trying
no
to
sense.
get-
I explained that to her.
I-
It makes
like-
no sense to come.
she came home, she failed the stop. I mean, it's a arrestable offense. I'm not trying to arrest the DA of the county, but also I don't want to not do my job and not at least write her something. So
No,
I
I
think
get it. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not gonna.
I'll at least write her the freaking going 55 and a 20.
35, but yeah. Or 20, maybe.
At the end of the day,
Both.
I got discretion whether or not.
No, I get it. I understand.
So
Sadly, he's not going to arrest her. I know. I'm disappointed too.
I'm at least gonna start the one ticket.
Yep, potentially criminal. That's a very good way of putting it too, right? It's all about framing, or about how you say it. But yes, the defendant fled at high speed in a suburban area filled with children and refused to comply with mobile orders in an aggressive and belligerent manner. Defendant then tried to flee on foot. That is one way of characterizing what has occurred. Yes, I mean, yes. So, yeah, she's guilty of crimes. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. She's guilty of so many crimes. I'm sure we could get more creative if we put our minds to it. But yeah, we have a long list. I'm sure she'll be just as generous to everyone who has attempted to be pulled over for speeding in her jurisdiction. I guess I would use I use the DA defense. It's good enough for the DA, it's good enough for me. Give that a shot. Yeah, maybe she'll try to claim absolute immunity. That'd be fun. I don't think it works, but, you know, why not throw that in there? Anyone else would be spreading their cheeks in county by now? Quite possibly. She'd say it like that in your bond hearing? True, too true. That's too true. Thank you for the super chat. Dude, all you had to do was pull over and take the ticket. Pay the ticket, it would have been fine. I've gotten tickets before. It happens. Not a lot, but a couple speeding tickets in my life. Maybe once every couple of years I'll get a speeding ticket. I pay the ticket. Life moves on.
Transport.
Go ahead.
She's doing she's certainly being a good example for her constituents. Thank you for being a member for 16 months. We do appreciate that. We appreciate everyone who helps to support the channel. Thank you so much. You've never had any tickets? Fair enough. But if you ever do, just pull over to the side of the road. Don't admit anything.
So I'm just writing here the speed.
And take the ticket and fight it in court like a normal person.
I just want you to be here for this whole thing. I don't have the body camera. So,
Mine's still going.
I'm trying to think. I tried to get hold of the camera. It's not a pocket.
All right, okay, so some of you guys have truly flawless driving records. Noted.
Someone real about it. 317 Nap Ave on this.
I'd love to see footage of her, like, the chase. I'd love to see that footage. All we have right now is the body cam footage, I think. But I'd love to see the footage from the cop cars of her being tried to be pulled over. And all that stuff. Because I bet that's pretty informative, too. I'd love to see the cameras from the cop cars. Or the body cam footage from that index. I'll take either one. If they release that footage, we'll have a part 2. I guess. This cop is taking forever in writing a ticket. I'm not sure exactly what he's doing over here, but he's taking his time. This is Monroe County, New York.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gnats or whatever.
Yep, she is your elected DA. My dog Clover. You and your fellow citizens have elected her to represent you as the prosecutor. How nice. This is a very noisy printer. Are we sure the printer isn't dying? It sounds like a laser printer on its very last legs. That's what it sounds like. I know it's not what it is, but it's just like, oof.
Alright, ma'am. So, I'm issuing you speed in zone, 55 and a 35.
That's fine. I'll take care of it since I'll be prosecuting myself.
Okay.
Ha ha ha, another
At the
corruption
end
of
the day,
office intention.
If you see my lights and sirens behind you, and obviously they're going off, just pull over, we can have a conversation, and be on our way. I kept my eye on your vehicle. I'm not going to check my computer to see what plate it is if a vehicle is not stopping for me. I want to keep my eyes on that vehicle for my safety so I make it home at the end of the day. Okay?
I apologize, but...
I'm sorry that you had a bad day,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry it went this way, but I do respect what you do. Have a good day, man.
But I would say, here's something else to call Dennis on this. You know the house...
Oh, she wants to say something else? She wants to say something else? She wants a parting shot? Okay. What do you got for me out of your parting shot?
Radio is completely unreadable.
Phillips Road.
Directly across from what?
If you're at the stop sign of Phillips Road.
Muted? Aww. Well, I didn't mute. I was looking forward to her trying to cop-splain some more. Aww. That's unfortunate.
Portable camera.
Okay, I gotta put the job in now. Do you know her location?
I believe she's trying to say she's at the pier, Webster Park.
All right, thanks.
All right, well, sorry.
Thank you.
All right.
He's got conflict.
All right, so that is the end of this woman for the moment. Sadly, we do not have video of the traffic attempt, the pullover attempt, which I imagine would be significantly more informative, but we sadly do not have it. But we do have some additional fun information to share. So, I believe this is Thursday. All right, so the DA made a statement on Thursday, which I believe is before the body cam footage came out. So this is what the DA had to say in response to this. This is, I think, before the body cam footage came out, but here's what she said. Okay. On Monday, April 22nd, 2024, I was driving home following a busy day at work. I admit that I was not paying attention to my speed on Phillips Road in the town of Webster. Less than half a mile from my neighborhood, I noticed a Webster police car behind me. Oh, you did notice it. Oh, okay. Once I realized that the intention of the car was to pull me over. Oh, so you realized their intention. You realized they were trying to pull you over, and you still persisted in not coming over. I feel like there's a name for that. It's like that's a crime, man. That's a crime. I called the Webster police chief because I'm one of the specials to inform him I was not a threat and that I would speak to the officer at my house down the street. Is that what you did? Was that the nature of your call? Because it doesn't sound like it was the nature of your call. It doesn't sound like, that you were informing him of this. And also, why are you calling the chief of police? Instead of just pulling over like a normal person. Do you not think you have to pull over like a normal person? I guess you don't. The Webster police officer followed me to my house and issued me a speeding ticket for my speed of 55 and a 35. I acknowledged that I was speeding and I accepted the ticket. By 1 p.m. the following day, I pled guilty and sent the ticket to Webster Town Court because I believe in accepting responsibility for my actions and had no intention of using my position to receive a benefit. Well, that doesn't sound like that was true to me at all. That doesn't sound like that's true to me at all, that you didn't intend to use your position for a benefit. I mean, we have you on tape, ma'am. It sounds a lot like, suspiciously, like that is exactly what you were doing. Didn't you check my plates? I'm the DA. Didn't you check them? Why would you pull me over and not check my plates? Oh, you didn't intend to use your office to shield you? No, no, man. It doesn't sound like that to me. Nobody, including your district attorney, is above the rule of law, even traffic laws. Really? Would you like to file charges against yourself for the obstruction and the evading and the refusing to obey lawful orders and the corruption of office? Would you like to do that too? Yeah. Anybody who knows me understands without doubt that I've dedicated my entire 33 years to the safety of this community. Don't you understand? It's just that you don't appreciate her enough. You don't appreciate her enough. You were supposed to give her a bye. Okay. My work to ensure the safety and respect of law enforcement doesn't feel that real respectful, is well proven time and time again. I don't know, man. I'm not feeling totally respectful. It feels like when maybe you're involved, you're a little bit less respectful. I stand by my work, and I stand by my commitment to the public safety of Monroe County. Exciting. Exciting. Just all the exciting. Now, unsurprisingly, of course, I think some people are less than fully thrilled with this defense. We have a, I guess we'll call it statement from apparently basically the entire city council of Rochester. They have some thoughts that they have sent to the Attorney General. And they write the following: Dear Attorney General Letitia James, we, the undersigned members of Rochester City Council, are writing to request an investigation into the conduct of Monroe County District Attorney Sandra Doorley. Recent body cam footage shared by Webster Police raises significant concerns regarding Miss Doorley's behavior during a traffic stop in Webster. This incident leads us to question her fitness to serve as DA, and also whether or not she should be charged with several felonies. That's my ad lib. And we believe the investigation by your office is warranted, as public officials were held to the highest standard of ethics, accountability, and respect for law. The behavior is exhibited by Miss Doorley during the traffic stop, as captured in the body cam footage, appears to violate these standards. You think? Such behavior undermines the credibility and integrity of our justice system and erodes the public trust. Given the gravity of the matter, we are asking for a thorough investigation into Ms. Doorley's conduct. It is crucial for us to determine whether her actions during the traffic stop reflect broader issues that could impact justice. That too. Furthermore, an investigation will ensure that no one, regardless of position, is above the law. Anytime we'd like to charge her with several felonies would be fine. We are confident that your office has the expertise and authority to conduct a comprehensive investigation into this matter. We kindly request you keep us informed of any developments and actions taken as a result. Thank you for your prompt attention. Sincerely, apparently the entire City Council of Rochester. That's exciting. So, you know, there's people are less than fully happy about the situation, as you would expect. So, but of course, the Attorney General is a Democrat, and apparently this woman is a Democrat. So I don't know that she's going to be charged with the many, many felonies that she deserves. If she were a Republican, I imagine it wouldn't go as well. But, you know, there is that. Here also is a statement from the Assistant Majority Leader of the Monroe County Legislature. The body-worn camera footage of the traffic stop involving the Monroe County District Attorney, Sandra Doorley, and her subsequent actions raised significant ethical and legal concerns. You don't say. Her stated disregard for the rule of law, she did say that several times, disrespect of and attempts to evade the officer, she did that. She just admitted to it. Remember, she just said in her own statement that she was aware the cop was trying to pull her over. She was aware of the intent. And still didn't do it. That's evasion. And the release of misleading and a factually incorrect statement following the incident, well, it's misleading, deserve investigation by the Monroe County Office of Public Integrity under its duty to investigate obstructing, retaliating against, or tampering with a public servant. Yeah. the obstruction, as well as any other actions it deems appropriate. In addition to the OPI, the conduct of Ms. Doorley warrants investigation by the state's attorney general and potentially her removal by the governor for misconduct. This is not the first time I've requested investigation in the ethics of District Attorney Doorley. Really? We've had previous interactions with the district attorney? You don't say. In 2022, I and 6 other legislators called for the district attorney associations of the state of New York to investigate political activity that appeared to violate the ethical standards set by that body and the New York Bar. Oh, she's misusing her office for political benefit? Oh, she seemed like such a nice person. The Monroe County Legislature does not have an official role in this matter. Of course they don't, because they're the legislature and that's not what they do. However, it's our duty as public servants to maintain the highest level of integrity and expect that of all elected officials. Ms. Doorley's pattern of behavior certainly brings her integrity into question. When questions arise due to documented conduct, the appropriate investigations must happen on behalf of the people who elected her to serve. Thus, the opinion of the Assistant Majority Leader. And then we have an opinion from some other members of the legislature of the county. We have some more people who have opinions. We request an inquiry into the recent conduct of Monroe County District Attorney Sandra Doorley, as elected officials were not above the law and should be held to a higher standard. Average citizens need to know elected officials are held accountable as would any other person. Well, I mean, that's already hasn't happened. She wasn't thrown to the ground and maced. But, we'll take what we can get at this point. This type of behavior is disturbing and requires the full scrutiny and disciplinary action. Incidents like this shed light on the inequities of our criminal justice system. This behavior is unfortunately a display of privilege, preach, and should not be swept under the rug. We call upon the New York State Governor, Kathy Hochul, and the Attorney General, Letitia James, to exercise their power to investigate the recent troubling behavior by the District Attorney. We further call on the county's Office of Public Integrity and an Ethics Board to look into the matter. Yeah. The public demands these actions be investigated to the fullest extent. Sincerely, some other people in the legislature. And here is a statement from yet another legislature who wants to offer their opinion. I'm shocked and disappointed in District Attorney Sandra Doorley's conduct. The incident is not just about a speeding ticket. That's true. It is not about that anymore. It's about abuse of power, yes, and double standards, particularly for black and brown motorists. Well, I don't know about that. I think it's because she thinks she's one of the specials. I don't think it's a race thing. I think it's a I'm the specials thing. But, despite calls for the state attorney general to investigate, only the governor has the authority to initiate such an investigation that leads to removal. I can't speak to the finer points of the law of New York with respect to this, but sure. In addition, Webster Police could request another agency to review the entire incident, which should definitely occur. No matter what, Doorley should face cameras, take hard questions, apologize, and address the deep inequalities in our criminal justice system. That's all super exciting. That is all super exciting. So, yeah. So that brings us to the end of this story of this district attorney, Sandra Doorley, the district attorney, Sandra Doorley, who committed many, many crimes, some of them felonies, and has pled guilty to her speeding ticket in the hopes that it will all go away. Which was probably a really smart move by her, by the way, because when she realized what a complete fuck up she'd done, trying to I did this, I did my speeding ticket, so we're all good now, right? Yeah, it's probably a good idea to try to resolve that. But I think, my friends, that things are not going well. So, yeah. And I hope it's not the end of the story. I hope it's not the end of the story. But I do have my doubts, because I'm a cynical bastard. And also because, I've seen the world. Although in the off chance that she's replaced by a Republican DA, the new DA could, prosecute her for the crimes. I assume it will be within whatever statute of limitations would be applicable under the state of New York for the relevant felonies. So, there's always that. let me read a few of your comments from the super chats, and then we can hang out for a little while. Alan Parker gifted 20 gift memberships. Thank you very much, Alan Parker. They are extensively appreciated as always. Roy Amada gave $5, say, you're really not going to like how this ends. I am not thrilled. I am not thrilled. No. So far, apparently how it's end is she pleads guilty to the speeding ticket and hopes it all goes away. I am not a super happy camper. Potentially Criminal gave $10, which we read earlier. Kathy Kuhn Ashby gave $5. We read that earlier. Potentially Criminal gave $2. We read that earlier. Gurgly Varu has been a member for 16 months. Thank you for being an uncivilian. Roy Hamada gave $5 to say the officer should be removed from the force for letting it get away with so many crimes. I don't know about that. I don't know the relevant law of the jurisdiction. Apparently, he says, and I tend to agree, I'll tend to take his word for it, that the arrest is discretionary under those circumstances. So I'll take his word for it that that's correct. So I'm not sure the officer necessarily did anything wrong. But I would have appreciated a more aggressive posture for sure. Nicky Crowns has been a member for 8 months. Matthew Harris Law has been a member for 7 months. Matthew Harris is okay. I like it when he hangs out with us. Nikki Lewis has been a member for 13 months. Thank you very, very much. His boss told him what to do? Yeah, fair enough, that too. And, as long as it's lawful, which it seems like, then, fair enough. Then, the corruption would be on the chief of police, not him. If the chief of police told him not to make the arrest, although it's not clear that that's what happened, because whoever was there, whoever a supervisor was there, said, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. So it's not clear the chief of police gave him an order, but if it did, then yeah, I blame the guy who gives the order, because it's a lawful order. It's a lawful order to the subordinate, assuming that the power to arrest is discretionary. So the corruption is at a higher level. So, that's fair enough. We don't know what the chief of police said. We don't have that information. So we're unclear about that particular part of the story. Craig says, I'd like her to answer what she thinks should happen to people who don't pull over the police. That'd be great. Poor lady was doxxed. GPS coordinates can be seen on the footage. Public record, man. Public record. It's public record. So, well. Of course, I will say, for whatever value it has, that no one should harass her. If you wish to express your displeasure to her, you can do so through her office, because that would be your right to petition for redress. So if you wish to express your displeasure to her, I would suggest communicating your comments to her office, because at that point you're communicating in petition of redress for grievances, which of course is a First Amendment right of yours. And I'd always encourage you to be professional, and certainly do not make threats. But don't go to her house. Don't do that. That's not called for. If you want to protest outside her office, fine. If you want to write letters to her or the governor or the city council or anyone else you wish to, fine. If you wish to contact the Public Integrity Unit and ask for them to investigate, fine. But, don't go to her home. Don't do that. But if you want to write to her office and tell her that she's a hypocrite jerk who committed multiple different felonies and she should be held accountable, then, as long as you do it in a non-threatening way, go nuts. You could contact the AG. You could also contact the governor's office. That'd be good. The Public Integrity Unit, that'd be good. Yeah. But you shouldn't harass her in her home. No one really deserves that, really, under any circumstances. You shouldn't harass people in their homes. The FBI, I don't know what jurisdiction the FBI would have here. I don't know if there's a FBI I don't know if there's any basis for a federal investigation. I can't immediately think of one. The feds only investigate federal crimes, and I'm not sure what federal crime you would charge her with. So yeah, sure, her home address wouldn't be there if she had pulled over. That's true as well. You think the sound redaction at the end was to protect the streets close to her from being disclosed? Maybe. I can't speak to why they made certain decisions, and I can't speak to why they didn't make other decisions. I am certainly not an expert on the finer points of New York's FOIA law with respect to what they do or do not blur out. So I can't speak to whether or not, like, the failure to reject the GPS was in some sense wrong. I don't know. It might be a little bit weird that one thing is redacted and not another, but that might be the relevant law. So I can't speak to the finer points of the FOIA law, so I'll have to take a pass on that one. So even though it might be a little bit silly, potentially, the law very may well say that yes, you're supposed to blur it out, and yes, you're supposed to remove the audio, but no, you're not supposed to remove the GPS coordinates. Even though that might be a little bit silly, but that might be the relevant law. So, you know, you're going to have to go comb through the finer points of New York law for that one. Yeah, I don't know what the FBI has anything to do with this. I can't think of why the FBI would have a issue here. The only reason I can think for the FBI to get involved would be if they can point to some pattern of conduct that would speak to, like, the corruption of the office in a more global way. But that is not indicated by this situation. So the Fed's authority here is fairly limited. I really hope we get the camera footage from the attempt to pull her over, though, because I imagine that might be somewhat informative as we try to figure out how things go here. The distance that she traveled is somewhat material to the legal analysis. You know, if you could make a credible case that she didn't pull over immediately because of legitimate safety considerations, and she pulled over as soon as practical, which just so happened to be her house, then you wouldn't have evasion. So the distance between the traffic stop and her home become potentially material to understanding whether or not she's guilty of evasion. Yeah, but you know, whatever. So yeah, I remember her saying something about half a mile. I remember her saying that on the audio, half a mile. But you know, I'm not ready to take anything's words for it at this point. Yeah. So if it's half a mile, it might not be evasion. Then we can strike out the evasion counts and just go for the obstruction, miscorruption of office, refusing to obey lawful orders, and so forth and so on. Of course, we could file the charge for evasion and drop it at a later time, which wouldn't also be necessarily atypical. We have a prima facie case of evasion. So your typical DA might very well file it and then drop it at a later time. That happens all the time. She passed 30 houses in the neighborhood after leaving Phillips Road. Yeah, that's a bit problematic. I mean, yeah, that's a bit problematic. I don't know that we could prove evasion beyond a reasonable doubt, though. So we might have to drop that one. But we can get her on the other things. Yeah. Yeah. Good luck with that argument. I mean, you know, to a jury, yeah, you might be able to get there. It was half a mile and I was just pulling into my house because it was safer. Yeah, that might work. It wouldn't be ridiculous. I'd try it. People in her position should be held to a higher standard. I tend to agree. Well, they should at least have equal application of the law. They at least should have equal application of the law, which is why I just said just now, like, I'd want to know more information because here's some potential defenses that might work, right? So these are defenses that are hypothetically available to anybody. And it's not because she's special, right? I said, well, it depends on the distance, because depending on the distance and depending on the road conditions and depending on other factors, maybe we can make a plausible case it doesn't fall within the definition of evading. That's a pure argument of law. So, you know, fair. That's just an idea. I don't know enough. Maybe we can. Maybe we can. I don't know. And maybe it's like maybe it's a technical violation, but not enough to convince a jury. And maybe a reasonable prosecutor, if they were truly independent, wouldn't bring that charge, because even if you can technically make it out, you don't necessarily want to bring it because you don't want to lose it for the jury, and you don't want to necessarily taint your case as a whole, which can definitely happen when you overcharge. You always run some risk that if the jury like really throws a count out, you run a risk of tainting the rest of your case. So pragmatic considerations also would suggest that we would be more cautious. But that is an analysis that has nothing to do necessarily with her. So there's the value of that. We try to give good legal education. I give you this information partially for your own benefit, so that you can understand the parameters of these things, right? It gives us a good opportunity to talk about what does qualify as evasion, what does not qualify as evasion, right? What circumstances might we evaluate? How might we evaluate that situation? How might we view it from a bunch of different levels? It's good quality legal education, man. It's good stuff. However, even if we can't make the case for evasion, or even if for pragmatic considerations, it would not be wise to bring the case of evasion, we still have the refusing to obey a lawful order, and we still have a pretty solid case for obstruction / corruption of office by trying to use her title to get her out of trouble. So don't fret. We have other exciting charges we can bring. You know, we have other exciting charges we can bring. The cops didn't do a felony stop. I know. Well, not initially, but when she, when she tried, and then she tried to go into the home and stuff like that. Yeah. Will she be disbarred? Unlikely. It's unlikely. If the bar does something, you're looking at some sort of reprimand, not a disbarment, if they do something. But do you know the total number of DAs that have like ever been subject to disbarment? It's a pretty low list, so I wouldn't get your hopes up. She's going to take a huge L. She very well may take a huge L, and good for her. Good for her for taking a huge L, because she effed up pretty bad. It would have also helped if she had taken responsibility for it all instead of being so evasive, at least from a political standpoint. Not so good from a legal standpoint to say, yes, I did all the things and I'm guilty and I'm sorry, but good from a political standpoint. So, so her political future is definitely questionable. The bar is a joke. The bar isn't necessarily a joke. I don't think that's fair. It's just that the bar tends to not deal in minutia. And also, the bar only looks at things that speaks to an attorney's ethics, which all crimes are not necessarily related to an attorney's ethics. So just because she broke the law doesn't necessarily mean it's an ethics violation, which is what the bar does. So now that isn't necessarily, you could make some arguments that there's something related to the bar, but as it relates to attorney ethics rules, I'm not so sure. So I don't think the bar is a joke. I'm just not sure that the bar necessarily has the power to do much in this particular domain. But, whatever. Yeah. the fact that she maximum Karen'd this doesn't help. Yeah. By the way, just for not for nothing, if this is acceptable behavior, the bar is a joke, that there's no ethical violation here. Well, go read the rules of ethics. I mean, would be my suggestion, and I'm not trying to be too unduly flippant about this. But if you want the bar to go after her, you need to find a violation of the attorney's rules of ethics, which are publicly available. And so you need to figure out which rule of ethics she violated within her professional capacity as an attorney, or otherwise speaks to her ability as an attorney. Right? So, I mean, the bar deals with ethics violations as it relates. The bar deals with problems in and of itself, but that the attorney fails to attorney. That's what the bar does. The bar is like, this is not a good attorney. Her not being a good person is not the same thing as not being a good attorney, and vice versa. Yeah, the New York rules can be found. They're not hard. You can just Google model rules of ethics. You can just put in New York if you want. New York model rules of ethics. You'll find it right away. No problem. Now, Tom Girardi, I mean, he stole money from the client. He broke his fiduciary obligation. So that was pretty easy. Yeah, I mean, you can't steal money from the client. It's the client's money, not yours. And you are a fiduciary to the client. The reason you have access to the money is because you're an attorney. So the mistreatment of the money goes directly to you being an attorney, because the only reason you could do it in the first place is because you're an attorney. The very fact you're an attorney is what facilitated the thing, and you're misusing your position as a fiduciary. So yeah, don't steal money from the client. She switched to GOP, did she? That's funny. She switched to GOP? That's funny. So maybe things will not go as well for her. Yeah, we're talking about attorney ethics. You're talking about malfeasance as an attorney, in the same way that if you wanted to go after a doctor's medical license, you're talking about malfeasance as a doctor. How did the person fail to be a doctor? Or how did the person fail to be an attorney? That's what you're trying to ask. All right? And so you wouldn't go after someone's medical license for these reasons. Obviously, right? How do any of these things have anything to do whatsoever with whether or not you're a good doctor? They don't. Now, it might mean you're a felon and you're going to jail, but it has nothing to do with whether or not you're a good doctor, right? So we might prosecute you, we might put you in prison, but we aren't necessarily going to take away your medical license because, well, the crime has nothing to do with you being a doctor. It is completely removed. So yeah, you only go after their license for things that are a violation of their professional obligation. And I mean, that's pretty reasonable, I think. GOP since 2015? Cool, thanks. All right, cool. All right. By the way, not for nothing, I think I've partially figured out the audio issue I was having the other day. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit, just to like inform you, because it might be interesting for a technical note. So when I listened back to the stream that we did at the Supreme Court, you were getting that like intermittent buzzing, intermittent garbling. And I've been having this problem on my interface. I have a Focusrite Solo. It's a 3rd generation. And I have this problem from time to time where the audio will get really garbled in my ears. It'll get unbelievably garbled, really, really distorted sounding. And the way I've solved that problem in the past is literally by, unplugging it and plugging it back in, which seems to reset the problem. So that garbling noise that you heard, I think is the second time that something that is similar to me has happened to you. So normally the garbling noise is something only I can hear and you can't hear it. But that is like the second time that it's been something that you can hear that I can't hear. And so I'm not sure exactly what that's off about. The audio is early relative to the video. That's quite you're right. The video is off. You're absolutely true. You're absolutely correct. The video is off. Sharp eye. You're correct. Because I turned off all the audio correction. I turned off all the audio correction in trying to solve the problem, and all that audio correction takes up CPU time. So you're correct. You're well spotted. Yeah, it's off. It's probably off by about 1/3 of a second. Yeah, it's probably off by about 1/3 of a second. Very sharp eye. Good job. Let me turn it back on. Yeah. So that should correct for it. Sorry about that. No, you're right. You're absolutely correct. So I just turned the filters back on, so it should sync it up fine. Anyways, so to solve this problem, or attempt to solve this problem, first of all, I took apart my PC just to make sure all my connections were solid. I removed the video card. I also replaced the motherboard battery because it seemed like that was bad for some reason, which really shouldn't be possible because the motherboard's only like 4 years old and that battery should last for 20 years. But for some reason, the motherboard battery seems to fail because when I like reboot the computer after like a complete power failure, it's like, yeah, the motherboard settings all have to be readjusted. So as long as I was in there, I changed out the battery because I had a spare battery. So that was nice. And I just double checked all the connections. And I also brought my dustbuster to try to, clean out the gunk and stuff and all the rest of it. So everything looked kind of okay in there as far as it goes. Yeah, now you can get old batteries. Yeah, I guess. Well, either way, the battery had failed. And so I just replaced it because I have, I have spare battery. So I just replaced it. No big deal. I also plugged the interface into a USB 3.0 port as opposed to a USB 2.0. I don't know if that makes any difference, but why not? I also went into Focusrite settings for the microphone, and I lowered the sample rate because I did a YouTube search on this issue with respect to like garbling and noise and stuff. And there were a couple videos, not many, but there were a couple videos about the Focusrite 3rd generation, which is what I have. And they suggested that solving the problem should be done by lowering the sample rate. So I reduced it from 48 to 44.1, and also by increasing the buffer time within the device. So I increased it to 512 or something. So thanks, Matt, for dropping by. So also I've been trying to replace my audio drivers because I think it's possible the audio drivers somehow themselves are corrupted. But God knows I've tried everything at this point when it comes to that, in terms of trying to reset the audio drivers and download new drivers and just reset the audio drivers. So God knows I've tried everything there. So hopefully the noise won't come back again. And if it does, then the only thing left to do, well, then it's one of two things. If the noise comes back again, it's one of two things. It's either the interface, which somehow has gone bad, which I don't know how that's possible, but, okay. Or it's the PC itself, which is also possible. So we'll see. I run Windows 10. And I'm not overclocking. I'm just running on standard speed. I have no particular reason to overclock, so I just run it standard. So that's what happened with the audio. And that's also like why nothing I was doing was fixing it. Because all the things I were doing were trying to fix it in software, like in my PC, by adding or removing various settings. But the problem wasn't in those settings. The problem was somewhere deeper. It was somewhere deeper. It's in the drivers, or it's in the device itself, or it's in the PC possibly. The cables seem okay. I mean, when I looked in there and I checked the cables, all the cables seemed okay. So I don't know if it makes any difference, but the little plastic clip that helps hold the video card in place broke. So there's no little plastic clip holding the video card in place anymore. It's now being held in place just by the screw that holds it down at the other end. So I have noticed that there is a bit of a slight vibration in the video card. sometimes it makes noise when the fans get really high because it's not like quite 100% solid. So, is it self-built? Yes, it was a self-built PC. So, also, it could be a problem with the motherboard or the CPU. And there's a very specific reason it could be a problem with the motherboard or CPU. About a year ago or so, maybe I don't know, it doesn't matter. About a year ago or so, I got the notion that I was going to replace the thermal paste on the CPU. Now, why did I decide to do that? I don't know. I was just kind of, well, I do know actually. I was having some sort of problems with heat, and it wound up being something else. I forget what it wound up being, but we fixed the problem. Yeah, there was some sort of problem with heat that we were having with the CPU. And I think there was something like blocking one of the fans or something, and that was causing the CPU to overheat and have problems. So I fixed whatever the underlying issue is. I forget exactly what I did to fix the issue. I think it was like, maybe it was just literally a cable that was preventing a fan from spinning or something. But anyways, I fixed the issue. And then I was like, you know what? Because I had this problem with overheating, you know what I should do? I should go in there and I should replace the thermal paste and put on a better thermal paste. All right. So then what I tried to do is I tried to remove the heatsink from the CPU without removing the CPU from the motherboard. There's a little latch. There's a latch that holds the CPU in place to the motherboard to prevent it from falling out, as one does. The latch holds the CPU in place. I decided in my infinite wisdom not to disengage that latch. I thought I'd just keep the latch in place. And what I'm going to do is try to remove the heatsink from the CPU with the CPU still plugged into the motherboard. Well, unfortunately for me, the thermal paste that had previously been there did not give out first. The thermal paste did not give out first. The CPU gave out. I pulled the CPU out of the motherboard without first undoing the latch. In doing so, I bent the pins of the CPU, and the computer wouldn't turn on anymore, don't you know? Well, I took it to Louis Rossman, who is a professional and runs a YouTube channel, and I had interacted before, and he lives in Austin, where I lived at the time. And I was like, hey, can you help me out? Because I thought it was an issue with like the fan not working properly. And he took a look at it and be like, no, your CPU pins are bent. So they got out the microscope and they rebent the pins back into place. And apparently that worked. So I'm running on because they were like, well, there might be damage to the motherboard and there might be damage to the CPU. There's damage to the CPU. So you might need to replace both the motherboard and CPU. And I'm like, I can't afford that right now. So they cleaned out the motherboard. They cleaned out the thermal paste, which at this point had gotten into the motherboard ports or motherboard pin slots. There's now thermal paste in there too, which is exciting. And they rebent the pins into place, and it's working. So exciting. So the computer has been running for like a year and a half on a CPU that the pins for which have been rebent into place, and a motherboard which might be suspect. So there's that problem. Yeah, there's that problem. So it could be that. It could also be that. So yeah. Yeah. So that is some of the tales that are happening in PC land. So I hope the issue will be resolved and we won't have any more problems. We'll see. I think it's an AMD. Yeah. I could check my settings. Yeah, it is wild how they can work on such things. And they did it for free, which was very nice. I was willing to pay them, but they did it for free. I gave them a $100 tip, and I offered to take them out for lunch, although they passed on the lunch, but you know, that's fine. So, yeah, anyways, I hope that will solve the problem going forward. Could travel during my move mess with it too? Yeah, that was the other thing, because like I wasn't having this problem. I wasn't really having this problem before I moved. So the idea that it's somehow related to the move is not a bad idea, which is one of the reasons like I took the cover off and tried to see if all the plugs were in the right place and see if the fans were spinning properly and all the rest of it. So it seems like everything's okay there too. Yeah. Let me look up my specs real fast and I'll tell you exactly what I have. Hold on. Because it's been a while. Let's see. I have an AMD Ryzen 3900X. And I am running on a MicroStar MAG X570S Tomahawk Max Wi-Fi motherboard. Model number MS-7D54. So, that's what I'm running on. With 64 gigs of RAM. So, good times. All right, well, I'm going to sign off for now. And I appreciate you being here as always. And we will be back on at some later time with some more stuff. All right, guys, I hope all is well for now. Cheers, my friends, and goodbye.